Get it. Ow! Go get her. Rawr. No, it's a good morning when the old lady is doing zoomies, taunting her younger sister.
So we're out walking this desert wash, and I'm not sure what these bushes are, but they are full of vicious thorns. And so I think this is the time of the year when when these bushes drop these thorns as seeds, and they collect in all these little sand pockets. As the dogs are walking, they just pick these up by the dozens on their paws. So we're basically having to pull out thorns and carry them for, looks like a good half mile or more to get past this section. So it's, yeah, pretty nasty stuff. Not a fun job, but hey, it's all part of exploring the desert.
All right, let's check your paws. Okay, so we got through that section. Oh, my arm's on fire.
Yeah, mine too.
I think we decided we definitely need dog booties for these kinds of environments. I mean, obviously we'll carry them if we have to, but it's probably just something we're gonna need for them. So back the way we came. We'll find some more adventures without these nasty pokey things and carry on. Good girl. Yeah, look at how perfectly round. First of all, cats usually have a more rounded paw, and then we see no claw marks because cats can retract their claws, so that's got to be bobcat. I will absolutely nerd out over animal tracks. I'm not very good yet at identifying a whole bunch of them, but I really enjoy contemplating what kind of story they're telling. We have included some links in the description of this video of potential animals we may have seen. Right here, this looks like snake. And you know what's really interesting is behind you, it looks like rodent, like the little hoof, the little paw prints and the tail pulling. So, theory by Becky, Snakey was hunting. Look, you can see it perfectly. There's two little paws and that might be a tail, dragging a tail. Then where does it go?
2, 3.
myself.
She says, yes, it is. It's very nice. This plant is really cool because it's like orangey, but then there's still like just these little hints of green still. It's really soft. So I was just sitting here petting it, waiting for you. Just keep on being a pretty little plant. Did you get blood on you?
You know, it just happens.
If you've hiked anywhere or explored in any places of the Southwest, you've probably come across indigenous ruins. In this area where we were in Bears Ears National Monument, these are from the ancestral Puebloans or the Anasazi. They inhabited this area between 750 and 1300 AD, so these ruins were really, really old for American standards. I have never encountered any ruins like this before. I've really never explored much of the Southwest. So when we came upon our first very small ruin in the North Fork of Mule Canyon, I got emotional. I couldn't help but think about how the people back then lived and raised their families and had this really deep connection with nature and the animals around them. And I've traveled quite a bit, being raised in the Army as a kid, and I've seen some amazing feats of the things that humans can do, but there was something about experiencing a small snippet of what life could have been like for the people who lived there hundreds and hundreds of years ago that I definitely shed some tears, which really surprised me. So then the conversation started, you know, how did they survive and thrive? How did they create such a unique and robust culture? And how did they make a livelihood in such a harsh condition? And we always came back to the discussion of water. How did they find water, especially in the winter when things are frozen? So that was a really cool experience for us to be hiking along these seemingly dry washes, and then all of a sudden we find these amazing potholes, and knowing that somehow these ancient people knew how to utilize those resources to keep them alive. I just think that's amazing. Like a perfectly little hanging garden in this super dry wash. Oh my gosh. Look at you little guys go. And look, there's like these little like florets right there. Aren't those cute? Oh, I bet you in the spring this has got to be insane. Your potsies are full of freaking sand. You're disgusting. It's like 40 degrees out. Fernie, do you have anything to say for yourself? No? Are you pretty proud? Walking along these washes, we were really surprised to see these potholes with water, which is really rare in areas that are so dry. So because of the animal tracks we saw near the watering holes, Mead decided to put up the trail camera every night to see what kind of activity we could capture. And it was amazing to see the critters. They're obviously very skittish. They know there's predators around, but they need the precious resource of water. And that's what they had in common with the Anasazi.
Busy.
Wow, it's blackened, like, oh my gosh, look how charred it is. Oh, it's so cool. Probably was a bunch more rooms, right?
Yeah.
Like, this looks clearly like they cooked in there or something, or they had a fire. It's like history, you know? Like someone made this for their family. Little kids were born here, like, and raised. And families had, like, meals together. Oh, it's so cool. Going further up the north wash of Mule Canyon, we found more evidence of rubble and ruins, and we came across some pot shards, which obviously best practices is to leave them alone and not touch them, but we then also found a pile where people had been putting them there for others to look at, and so we decided to add to the collection. And I just couldn't help but marvel over how intricate and unique the designs were. After scrambling up above a ruin, we found these petroglyphs, which, different than pictographs are put in using paints. Petroglyphs are carved, or these look like they're stippled. We looked this up, and most likely a tribesman. Here, this was really intriguing. I thought immediately it looked like someone playing an instrument, so Mead and I went back and forth on what it could be. We weren't sure if they had instruments, and then we looked it up with a little more research. We realized they did, and they had what was called an Anasazi flute. Mead enhanced an image so you can see it better. So that was really fascinating. Obviously, the person who made this petroglyph had seen someone playing this flute, and perhaps maybe it was a rain dance or some sort of ceremony, but it felt really, we felt very privileged to be able to see these. We checked out House on Fire, which is a really popular destination. It's an easy 1 mile hike in, and some of the walls have been reconstructed just to give you an idea of what it looked like. There's also some really neat corridors in the rocks right next to House on Fire that we could just imagine little kids playing in. It's really sheltered and protected from the weather. So it was a neat experience to think about children or families growing up and utilizing this additional space right next to their home. I wonder if this was part of the dwelling too. I mean, look at that overhang. This was the hike into the Moon House, which was one of the most spectacular ruins we saw. Moon House is a multi-room cliff dwelling, and it's named for its celestial pictographs of half moon and full moon figures. It was created by the ancestral Puebloans between 1150 and 1300. And what's really incredible is when you turn the corner, coming down on the other side of the wash, you can see the cliff dwellings across the canyon. And it's just absolutely spectacular, mind-blowing to think that people lived here. Here I am checking out some of the kivas, which are believed to be food storage areas. You can actually still see some of the corn cobs left at the bottom of the kivas. You can see these like support beams coming through that they put mortar, or I guess whatever they used as mortar around, and the little ones here. There. Wow. Incredible craftsmanship. I mean, that it still is standing. The main dwelling has an outer wall that kind of protects the interior part of the dwelling, which we actually were able to walk into. And then we saw this really beautiful, intricate pictograph that you can actually find throughout the canyon, but we only saw this one. And it was just amazing.
So there is this outer wall around this entire structure, and then I'm going to walk inside. Where there are all these inner rooms.
Immediately when you walk in behind the wall, it's amazing how much light there is. I thought it would be so much darker. This is where the families all lived. They estimated about 25 to 35 people lived here, and this was the main dwelling. The pictographs at the white stripe and the dots above, I think, is where the name for Moon House came, and it represents the different phases of the moon. And who knows what this little room was used for? It was like this little Harry Potter cubby hole, probably storage, but it went really far deep back in there.
So this was an obvious cooking area, and there's a opening to draw air in. Fire inside the structure, and you can see all of the smoke build up, soot on the ceiling.
As we walked down the ledge, we kept running into more and more kivas. And since no other kivas were found within the canyon, it indicates that Moon House was probably a local ceremonial center, which serviced the ceremonial needs of the residents nearby in the canyon, as well as probably from the mesa tops. What do you think, mother-in-law sweet?
A little off the beaten path.
Close enough to babysit, but far enough away. As climbers, Mead and I were really intrigued to find the Moki steps, which are deliberately carved in hand and footholds that assisted the people getting in and out of the canyon. What I really found amazing and struck me as interesting is that these holes were carved in very minimally. They only put in what they needed. And there's a pretty sheer drop-off behind us. You can't quite see it in the video, but the exposure is pretty incredible. It was hard to imagine people, possibly children, using these steps to get in and out of the canyon. Okay, so somebody stood here, way down from their house, and carved these symbols here. Such a neat surprise.
Yeah, the house is way up there.
As we're hiking out of the moon house, I kept thinking about all the people that possibly had done this hike in and out of the canyon before me, and I hope that we can minimally impact this area and continue to be inspired by it. So I hope you enjoyed that and join us on our upcoming adventures.